Welcome back. South Sudan's President Salva Kiir and his rival rebel leader Riek Machar have signed an agreement to try to end 5 years of civil war. Under the framework deal, a ceasefire will come into effect within 72 hours. The conflict has killed tens of thousands of people and nearly 4 million more. A third of the population have been displaced by the violence. Reports say that under the latest agreement, some political prisoners will be released. Mr. Kiir and Mr. Machar met for the first time in nearly 2 years last week in Ethiopia. The deal, signed in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, comes amid pressure from neighboring countries to end the fighting. Ethiopian Airlines is to restart its flights to Eritrea for the first time since 1998, when conflict erupted between the two nations over their disputed border. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed made the announcement at a state dinner on Tuesday night in honor of a high-level Eritrean delegation visiting Ethiopia for the first time in decades. The meeting came about after Mr. Abiy said Ethiopia would comply with a border commission ruling to hand over contested border territories to Eritrea. Eritrea won independence from Ethiopia in 1993 after a 30-year conflict, but a border war 5 years later killed tens of thousands of people. Diplomatic ties have been cut between the two countries for almost 20 years. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has held a dialogue session with hundreds of young women in his country. The event, organized by the Department of Women Affairs in the presidency, saw the participants listing the issues they face that hinder their full contribution to nation building. Our Johannesburg Bureau Chief Betty Dibia was there and now reports.
The South African Minister for Women in the presidency, Batabile Dlamini, was the organizer and anchor. In the gathering of young women were nuclear scientists, heads of institutions, activists, teachers, and many other professionals. President Cyril Ramaphosa listened as woman after woman and some men drew his attention to challenging issues, from a high rate of femicide, violence against women and girls, as well as the drawbacks of patriarchal structures in society.
One of the things that we are asking for as a Gender Commission is an establishment of a Gender Violence Council. We would like the seriousness that is given to corruption in our country to be also given to the killing of women, the raping of our children, and to promote safer streets.
As women, we play a huge role in our society. We have the greatest influence on the next generation. We set standards of health and hygiene. We form a majority for the agricultural labor force. When you educate a woman, you educate the next generation.
We don't only want to come here and bring problems, we also have, not that we want to create solutions, we have solutions.
Some participants also gave other perspectives to the issues raised.
What is standing in our way is not just patriarchy, it is not just stereotypes. The other man is within us. So there's this side of us that has a loud voice of judgment, loud voice of cynicism, loud voice of fear that is standing in our way. Sometimes we get given opportunities in the world of work, but we fear them because society, socialization has taught us we are not worthy.
President Ramaphosa gave assurances to the eager audience who still had so much more to say.
The issues that you are articulating are not falling on deaf ears. We are listening. We are heeding what you are saying. We do so because the future in the end belongs to you. The future is what you determine.
If you are suppressed as a woman, in your secret space you could express that this was wrong, this is not right, but when you are faced with a man, you silence yourself. Why? And you're encouraging your daughter and generations yet to come to repeat the cycle. I think it's important that we have a conversation and we can understand why our elders do this, and us as young people can decide as ourselves that this is not the route we will take. We will speak up, we will have a voice.
A wider intergenerational dialogue is scheduled for August, which is Women's Month in South South Africa. But the participants here say this dialogue must be taken to the streets, to the communities, and the corridors of political and corporate power in order to effect true change. From the City Hall, Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
Egyptian artist Mai Ali Nada is using a wood burner to turn a blank wooden canvas into meticulously crafted work of art, an art technique known as pyrography. With over 6 years of practicing this type of art, she believes pyrography should be taught in schools because of its raw and natural undertones. Take a look.
Egyptian artist and assistant professor Mai Ali Nada does not need a wide color palette to create her striking portraits and sketches. Nada draws people and depicts nature and animals with a single tool, a wood burning pen, an art technique called pyrography. The wood burner, powered by electricity, heats up and burns the wood in canvas, creating different shades of brown, all controlled by the artist using it.
There are substantial differences between burning wood and painting with oil. In oil paintings, you start with the whole canvas and then work your way down to the details without any specific order. But with wood burning, you have to work one section at a time with all of its details, because there is no room for errors, as any mistake made cannot be erased or fixed.
Nada says her love for art had been since childhood, and starting at a young age, she spent many years painting on various materials. It also influenced her choice of study, although she only discovered drawing by burning wood after graduating. Now, with a little over 6 years of practicing this type of art, Nada believes the technique should be taught at art schools because of its raw and natural undertones.
I believe that expression can be much stronger without the use of color, as opposed to what is commonly known, that colors increase expression. You can use higher tones, use light and shades to increase the expressive nature of a portrait using monochromatic shades.
Although it seems simple, Nada says burning wood is not as easy as it looks. According to her, one portrait can take up to 5 months to complete, as each meticulous dot on the wooden slab needs to be carefully placed. The darker the color tone, the more time it will take her.
Up until today, when people ask me for portraits made by wood burning, it's difficult for me to oblige, and I do not sell my work. When a portrait takes up to 5 months to make, I become too attached to it.
Nada sells some of her artwork except for the pieces she creates by burning wood, because she grows too attached by the time she completes them.
And that's it on Network Africa. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Temitope Fagbemi.